AITA for telling my ex's wife that he lied to her? I, 33F, have a 13-year son named Adam that I've raised on my own. His dad, Chris, 34 meters, was someone I met in college. We had mutual friends and started dating when we were 18 and 19 years old. We broke up because he told me that his family would never accept a woman like me. I'm a POC, and he didn't want to put either of us through that. I found out I was pregnant a few weeks later, and when I told him about the baby, he basically told me to stay out of his life. I didn't contact Chris again after that. I even transferred colleges, but I kept in touch with the friends I had there. Some of them knew that he and I had broken up, but not everyone knew I was pregnant. When I had Adam, I contacted a few people to announce it, but otherwise I just kept to myself and focused on my son. I didn't think to worry about Chris beyond maybe helping Adam track him down someday when he was older. A few months ago, I got a message from one of the friends I kept up with from college. He said that he was still friends with Chris as well, and Chris had asked him if he had my number. He made sure it was okay with me before giving it to him. Chris texted me asking if he could get to know my son. I told him I'd talk to Adam about it first, and Adam eventually agreed to start talking to him. They've had pretty consistent messages back and forth and 1 or 2 phone calls over the past few months. Chris asked if we'd be comfortable having dinner with him and his wife, and because Adam said he really wanted to, I said okay and we set a time, place. Adam went to go to the restroom and Chris went to go get his phone out of the car because he'd left it there on accident. So when his wife Grace, 34F, and I were alone, she said that she wasn't judging my choice to do so, but she wanted to know why I waited so long to tell Chris he had a son. I kind of laughed and told her that I told Chris I was pregnant the day after I found out about it and he asked me to stay away, so I did. Him not knowing my son was his choice. She looked shocked and told me that Chris had informed her that he'd only found out about Adam a few months ago. I said I was sorry her husband lied to her, but he's known about Adam the whole time. Dinner was painfully awkward after that, so it ended a little early. Later in the night when I was getting ready for bed, I got a text from Chris asking why I had told his wife that he had lied to her about the situation. I said it wasn't my place to cover for him, but then he replied that I should have just told her to talk to him about it instead of telling her something that could ruin their marriage. He thinks I did it as some gotcha for how things ended for us. I will admit that I knew telling her the truth was probably gonna make some waves, but the only thing I feel remorseful about is the fact that this is probably going to screw things up for the relationship he's trying to have with my son. Still, was I the off for telling her? ETA, I had a conversation with Adam about why the dinner became so awkward last night, and he has said that he doesn't want to talk to Chris anymore because he doesn't think he'll get anything beneficial from a relationship with his bio father that he doesn't already have in his life. I obviously respect that choice and I told him that I could tell Chris that for him if he'd like me to, but he said he'd call or text him on his own. Also, I don't plan to get any child support from Chris because it's not something Adam wants, and because in order to get support I'd have to put Chris on the birth certificate and I'm not comfortable doing that. I don't want him to have any sort of access to my son, and Adam has said he doesn't want him to have rights over him either. NTA. He created this mess. This is on him. Don't let him try to make his problems your problems. They aren't. Also, his audacity. He is happy with the blame of wrongdoing being put on her but not on him. I don't know how he figured it wouldn't show up at dinner at all. He's also about the way you handled your pregnancy. No surprise. If he wanted her to lie for him, he should have asked her. It would, have been an unreasonable request to make, but less unreasonable than expecting to lie for him without a heads up. NTA. The lie was about you. Too bad for him, he wanted to be the good guy in his wife's eyes at your expense. Exactly. Not surprised he's still a dick. This shouldn't be something spends any time worrying about. I sincerely hope blocks his number, moves on from thinking about him, and keeps on keeping on. You're clearly doing a great job, especially given Adam's mature response to the situation. Bless you both, NTA, good luck to you. NTA. On top of all the shitty things about Chris, he is also dumb as a rock to leave his wife alone with the person he was lying to her about. Like, what did he think would happen? That's the important thing here. Op didn't do this to spite her ex, she simply made a reply to false information to clear her own name. Chris told a bunch of lies about her to his wife. They are untrue, and she has the right to tell the truth about herself to his wife when asked. Chris should stop telling lies about other people. Op stuck to the facts and was entirely in the right to do so. I'm guessing wife found will find out, if she hasn't already, that there are other things that Chris hasn't been forthright about. AITA for refusing to move my husband's service dog out of the house because my niece is uncomfortable? I'm gonna be quick. My husband is disabled. Won't expand on that for privacy. We got him a service dog 4 months ago to help him on a daily basis. My brother and his family lost their home and asked to move in with us for a few weeks till they find another place to stay. Thing is, my niece, 14, started complaining about the service dog making her uncomfortable. It's strange, no allergies, no nothing, but she's just uncomfortable. She told my brother and he asked if I could move the dog. I said absolutely not. This dog is literally as helpful as a human being when it comes to people with disabilities, and he's incredibly smart, and more importantly, he minds his own business and never bothers my niece, but she's just uncomfortable with him for some reason. My brother and his wife started begging, saying it's temporary, but I refused. They said that my husband doesn't really need the dog much as of now since he's home most of the time, yet I still refused. They tried talking to my husband directly, but I shut that down immediately. My brother's wife started an argument with me right after my brother went to work, and she started yelling about how I value a dog over my niece and her comfort. I said it wasn't just the dog, but it's my husband who needs him. My brother came home and we kept arguing. He said that I was being unsupportive and cruel to my niece who's already been through enough. My husband got involved and asked me to take him to his father's house with the dog, but I said no, not after what his dad said to him, and that him and the dog are staying. My brother and his wife are in the guest's room sulking hard while my niece is ignoring me. Meanwhile, my husband is sitting in the kitchen now trying to convince me to let him go stay with his dad's to keep the peace with my brother. This man, my husband, is like this all the time. Always willing to do what others want just to keep the peace. You can literally cuss him out and he'll apologize to you like it was his fault. He thinks he owes people for accepting him as a disabled man, which is sad. And it's true he's home most of the time, but he still needs his service dog throughout the day. Amethyst Hole for refusing to move the dog temporarily? My niece is upset with me. NTA. You're a good partner, and don't let your husband go stay with his father. Tell you brother and Sil that if their family is uncomfortable by the dog, a medicinal necessity for your disabled husband, they should find other living accommodations. Beggars can't be choosers. The reason I refused to let my husband go stay with his dad is because of EHAT he said to him the last he was there. He basically called him useless and a failure. Also told him he was good for nothing because he couldn't get Mr. pregnant, but that's an infertility issue we've been dealing with for years. It's too late now to have kids, me 34, him 37, but we still do not appreciate these type of comments. From his dad of all people. It's sad. I'm sorry to hear that. Keep advocating for your husband. Also, you are not too old to have kids. 34 is not old at all. NTA. For your husband, it is a need. For your niece, it is a want. Need triumphs over want. Your brother and his family are being ungrateful for your allowing them to live there while they find other accommodations. Perhaps, they should now try harder so as to get out and make their daughter less uncomfortable. Especially with a vague statement like, I'm uncomfortable. If there's an actual issue, that may be one thing. But something that just seems to boil down to, I don't like the dog, doesn't get consideration. NTA. Your brother and his family can make other living arrangements. They are incredibly presumptive to think you're going to move your dog, who is also a trained service animal. What gave them the impression they have any authority? Where do they get off? Your niece needs to stay in her lane, by the way. She needs to realize people do not have to put themselves out to appease her. Your husband needs to defend himself and not be a doormat. It's his home. The fact your brother was going to have your husband intervene goes to show your brother has no respect for your husband, and knows your husband will cave to his request. That being said, your husband absolutely should not move to appease ungracious house guests, who have already overstayed their welcome. Tell your brother and his family they have until the end of the week to find another living arrangement. The husband needs therapy to stop being the person who'd apologize for existing if he'd think it would help.